So we have our text now on page 18, but there isn't enough room for it designated in the layout. And we have, of course, overset text in the form of the red plus. Now I'm going to press the W key to hide the grids and guides temporarily, and then left click on that text frame just so you can see that red plus down there. Now, there is a technique called threading where you can left click on the red plus and generate additional text frames, and it will allow the text to spill freely from one text frame to another. And that's what we need to do in this case. So if I just turn on grids and guides again, I am just going to take the scroll bar and pan down slightly because we're going to thread from this text frame and we're going to make the second text frame occupy 4 columns. So it'd be handy if we can see this. It's not critical, but in this case, because they're adjacent to one another, the spreads, it's just helpful. So I'm going to hover over the text frame, left click once because it's already active. If it wasn't, you might have to select it first, then click on the red plus, and we go into threading mode. So we see a miniature version, very, very small, of the text that's in the frame. And from here, you can hold down the space bar and you can pan, let go of the mouse, let go of the space bar, and the text will still be loaded into the cursor. So here, making sure that I am a gutter width apart from the photograph and the level with the top margin, I can left click and let go. That now threads the text across here. If I then pan down lower, I can hover my cursor over the middle right-hand handle, click and drag, and pull that across to the right-hand side until it reaches the margin. And as we did before, from the control panel up at the top, I can change the number of columns from 1 to 2 by tapping up, and we have the text fitting inside of there now. Only thing we notice in here is that the style for this is left aligned. I have to double click on that one, and you will notice that from my paragraph styles panel, it is telling me that that is not formatted the way it should be. So if I click on clear overrides, it removes that left aligned option in there. So it's always worth checking if you see the plus next to one of your paragraph styles. So I hit the escape key on the keyboard and the cursor to come out of type editing mode, move that to the side, and that's how you can thread a text frame. The only downside is that if someone then comes to edit this in the future, or if you do, you'd have to remember that you've threaded it because there is no visual clue that that's what's happened at first. So if I just pan back up again so we can see both the text frames, what we need to do is go to the View menu, go down the list to Extras, and choose Show Text Threads. And when you click on that, and you don't see anything. So there are 3 conditions you'll have to have in place. You'll have to be in normal editing mode with your grids and guides on screen. You'll have to have turned on, as we have just done, the Show Text Threads, and you'll have to select one of the text frames itself with the selection tool. So you see now that we have what looks like a play symbol in what's called the output of the current text frame. And that thread then joined back up with another text frame in the sequence at the top left-hand side in what's called the import. You'll notice if I zoom out a touch in here, if I was to click on this text frame, even though there's nothing overset, I can click on the empty space where the threading symbol is. I could create another text frame just to the side. And if I click on the middle text frame now, notice that is connected with all 3. If I click and hold down the mouse, keep it held down and drag upwards, as I reduce the size of the text frame, it spills automatically into the third text frame that I created. So the text will flow freely between these. Click and drag downwards to reinstate that. And when I reach the bottom margin in there, there is of course enough room. I can click on this text frame and delete it without losing any copy. In fact, you can delete any text frame in a thread. You won't lose copy until, of course, you delete the very last text frame. But that's how you can thread text across a page or across spreads.